Welcome you to my fifth video on transformation of sentences. In the earlier four videos, we have learned how degrees are changed. Positive, comparative and superlative degrees, how from one to another we change them. These things we learned in the earlier four videos. And from this video, we will start learning how sentences are changed from simple to complex to compound, from one to another out of these three types. And what is this simple, complex and compound sentences? This is another classification of sentences depending on how many parts are there in a sentence. We know there are things called phrase, clause, etc. So how many clauses are there in a sentence? On the basis of that, sentences are divided into simple or complex. And these three are very important things in grammar. And these simple, complex and compound are essential parts of transformation of sentences. So in this video, we will learn how sentences are changed between simple, complex and compound. And before that, we have to be clear about what is a simple sentence. The definition of a simple sentence, the definition of a complex and compound sentences, these things you have to know first. And then only we can learn how changes are made from one to another. So firstly, we will see what is meant by a simple sentence. This is the definition of a simple sentence. You see, a simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb. In other words, there is only one clause, that is one subject and one predicate in such a sentence. Here the definition of a simple sentence is quite elaborately given. I have defined it in three ways here. I have used two sentences, but in these two sentences you get the same definition in three ways. Firstly, a simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb. This thing I have highlighted. You see, only one finite. These three words I have highlighted. What does it mean? It means that you have to understand this thing very well. This is the core point. That in a simple sentence, there is only one finite verb. Now the question will come to your mind, what is a finite verb? Because if you don't know what is a finite verb, then you won't be able to say how many finite verbs are there. So this we'll discuss later. But so far as the definition is concerned, as of now, just remember this point, that in a simple sentence there is only one finite verb, and this very thing we can say in a different way. In other words, there is only one clause. What is a clause? This also we will know later. So in a simple sentence there is only one finite verb. We can tell the same thing in a different way, that there is only one clause in a simple sentence. We can also say that in a simple sentence there is only one subject and one predicate. So these things you have to understand well. If you find these things difficult, just remember the first sentence. A simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb. This much point is enough. Just remember this point. And then when we define complex and compound sentences, then you will be able to differentiate them. And later on, when we start practicing, things will be more clear. As of now, just remember, in a simple sentence, there is only one finite verb. And now let us see the definition of a complex sentence. A complex sentence is one that has more than one finite verb. In other words, there are at least two clauses, one main clause and one subordinate clause in such a sentence. So the difference between a simple and complex sentence is very clear. We found that in a simple sentence there is only one finite verb. And a complex sentence is one where there is more than one finite verb. It means at least two finite verbs should be there. And the same thing is told again. In other words, there are at least two clauses. This means that if there is a finite verb, there is a clause. A clause is made up of a finite verb. That is what we have understood from here. So in a simple sentence, there is only one finite verb. It means there is only one clause. In a complex sentence, there is more than one finite verb. It means there are at least two clauses. And when there are two clauses, one is called the main clause and the other is called a subordinate clause. This main clause, subordinate clause, finite verb and clause, all these terms are very important. Unless you understand these things, you will not be able to understand simple, complex and compound sentences, and you will not be able to answer them also. So these things we will discuss. And as of now, just remember this thing, that a simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb. A complex sentence is one that has more than one finite verb. And what is a finite verb? That we will discuss a bit later. Now we will see the definition of a compound sentence. Here is the definition of a compound sentence. A compound sentence is made up of two simple sentences joined by a conjunction and, but, yet, or, otherwise, else, etc. What we have learned from this definition is that we already have got the idea about a simple sentence. That a simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb. And here the compound sentence is defined as a sentence where you find two simple sentences are joined. And how are they joined? They are joined, two simple sentences are joined with the help of a conjunction. And then examples of some conjunctions are given: and, but, yet, or, otherwise, else, etc. These are the examples of conjunction. So with the help of such a conjunction, two simple sentences are joined, and that sentence is called a compound sentence. These are the definitions of a simple, compound, and complex and compound sentence. But I also know it very well that with this much of discussion, you still have a lot of question in your mind, because the terms like clause and then finite verb, etc., these are still not clear. We'll make it clear soon. And in addition to these three definitions, there are certain other very important points that you have to know that will help you in differentiating a simple and a complex and a compound sentence from one another. Let us see those important points. Before we discuss those important points, let us be very clear about your finite verb. In the definitions of a simple sentence and complex sentence, we have got that a simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb, and a complex sentence is one that has more than one finite verb. Now the question is, what is the finite verb? Let us be very clear about that. But I have here written, you can see I have written non-finite verbs are of three types. Now again you may be asking yourself that why is non-finite verb? In a simple sentence there is only one finite verb. All these while you have heard about finite verb and finite verb. And now why is there non-finite verb? Yes, there is reason. Because I have mentioned here non-finite verbs are of three types. Why? Because finite verbs are many and non-finite verbs are limited in number, only three types. So that is why I have written here the non-finite verbs, so that you can know that all other forms of verbs are finite. So if you find a verb which is not out of any of these three, then be sure that that is a finite verb. Then what is non-finite verb then? In our languages, in Assamese or Bengali, this finite verb is called homapika kriya, a verb that implies completion of an action. A verb that implies completion of an action, finite verb, and in Assamese is called homapika kriya. And non-finite are ahomapika kriya. So these three are non-finite verbs. What is the first example, the first form of non-finite verb? That is to infinitive. What is this to infinitive? The word infinitive means, infinitive, understand this thing very well. Infinitive is the base form of any verb. The base form, kriya mool root, that is called base form of a verb, that is called infinitive. Go, play, see, think, help, write, run, work. From go you have went, gone, write, wrote, written. But if we talk about only the base form, not past or past participle form, the base form only, go, play, see, think, write, come, hear, then these are called infinitive. To infinitive means first there is the word to, to, and then the base form of any verb. To go, to play. I have given two examples. To go, to help, to play, to see, to write, to work, to cry, to love, to hate. All these are examples of non-finite verb. When you find any such things, then be sure this is an example of non-finite. We often find in sentences, for example, I want to go home. This to go, it is an example of non-finite verb. He wanted to help me, to help. This is an example of a non-finite verb. So, to infinitive is an example of a non-finite verb. What is the second example of a non-finite verb? The second example of a non-finite verb is that you will find present participle without be before it. What is this present participle? Present participle we usually call it verb ing. For example, with the base form of the verb when ing is added. Going, playing, seeing, reading, writing, running, working, helping, loving, sleeping. So these are all present participles. Verb plus ing. Verb plus ing has a name in grammar, that is called present participle. Verb ing is called present participle. And what we find is that when we make a sentence in continuous tense, present continuous or past continuous, then we use this form. And at that time what we do is that before this present participle form, before verb ing, we use be verb. He is writing. Writing is the present participle, but before writing there is. He is writing. I am going. Before present participle am is used. They were sleeping. Sleeping is the present participle, but before it you are using were. So before present participle we use a be verb. I have used the word be in quotation. Why? Because here by be I mean different forms of be. Not only the word be. Be here implies am, is, are, was, were. Any form of be we use before present participle form of the verb when we use it in continuous tense. This we all know. But you sometimes find that present participle is there, verb ing is there, but before it there is no be verb. For example, I can say, going home, I found my mother ill. Going home, here the sentence begins with going. Going is the present participle, but before going there is no be verb. I felt sad seeing him crying. I felt sad seeing. Before seeing there is no be verb. I felt sad seeing him crying. Again, crying is present participle, but there is no be verb before it. So usually before present participle a be verb is there. That is what we do in present continuous tense. But sometimes you find that present participle is there. It means verb ing is there, but there is no be verb before it. That is an example of non-finite verb. One example of non-finite verb is to infinitive, to go, to play, to see, to work. Another example of non-finite verb is present participle without be verb before it. I am sure you have got the point. Next comes another form of non-finite verb. What is it? This is past participle without have before it. I have used the word have within inverted commas. This means here by have I don't mean only have. By have I mean different forms of have. Have has three forms. Have, has, had. Out of these forms, any form we need to make make the sentence in perfect tense. If you are using a sentence in present perfect tense, you will use have or has, and then you will use the past participle of the main verb. I have written a letter. Before the word written, which is the past participle, you are using have. He has seen you. Seen is the past participle, and before this past participle you have used has. They had arrived before we came. They had arrived. Arrived here is the past participle, and before arrived there is had. So this is quite known to all of us that past participle form of the verb is used in perfect tense, and before the past participle form we use have, has or had. But sometimes you find that past participle is used, but there is no have, has or had before it. For example, I have seen the poem written by you. I have seen the poem written by. First you see, I have seen. Before seen there is have. I have seen. I have seen. Seen is the past participle. Before seen there is have. So this is an example of finite verb. But next you see, I have seen the poem written by you. Written is also past participle, but before written there is no have. Before seen there is have. So it is finite. But before written there is no have or has or had. So this written is an example of a non-finite verb. So these 3 points are very, very important to understand what is a finite verb and what is a non-finite verb. This will be helpful. This is very essential for understanding these simple, complex and compound sentences. Let us refresh this thing again. These 3 points I have mentioned, you see them again. These 3 are the different forms of non-finite verb. Remember, non-finite verb. One is to infinitive, another is present participle form of the verb without be before it, another is past participle form of the verb without have, has or had before it. These 3 are the examples of non-finite verb. Other than these 3, if you find a verb in a different form, other than these three, then be sure that is a finite verb. And in a simple sentence, we want a finite verb. At least one finite verb we need in a simple sentence. At least two finite verbs we need in a complex sentence. So these are the examples of non-finite verb. I have made a list of non-finite verb because they are limited in number. There are only three. Other than all these, verbs in any other form is called a finite verb. So these points will be important if you remember them well, and when we practice these things in the next video, then you will find things more easy. And other than these three, there are some other important points that we need to discuss. Let us see them now. Let me show you my face here, and all this while you are not able to see me. We have got examples of non-finite verb, but in a simple sentence and compound sentence we are concerned about finite verb. I have given examples of non-finite verb so that you know that verbs in all other forms other than those three that I had written earlier are finite. In a simple sentence we usually find these things, and non-finite verb is there. And when you are asked to change it into a complex sentence, your job will be to change it into a finite form. And the same is the case in complex sentence. You will usually find a finite verb, and when you are asked to change it into simple form, your job will be to transform it into non-finite form. And in a complex sentence, when you find a verb in a finite form, usually these words are there: that or WH clause. That and WH clause, what is it? By that clause we mean a clause begins with that. For example, I know that he is ill. This second part, that he is ill. That he is ill, this part begins with that. Or, I have seen the book which you have purchased. Which you have purchased. I have listened to what he has said. So this type of things, that clause or WH clause will be there in a complex sentence, and when you are asked to change it into simple, then your job will be to remove these things. And in a simple sentence you will find a non-finite verb. Your job will be to change it into a finite form when you will change it into a complex sentence. I will give you some examples of one or two sentences to make you understand these things we have discussed, to understand these things better. But before giving examples of those one or two sentences, let us discuss some other important points like clause and phrase, etc. Okay, so let us see the definition or difference between a clause and a phrase first. Look at these expressions. My best friend, to do better, playing cricket. These are the words, these are the groups of words which we often find in different sentences. These are not unknown. These are very common words. My best friend, to do better, playing cricket. These three they belong to one category. 1, 2, 3. Coming to this part, you see, again there is 1, 2, 3. When he saw me, where they live, that he is ill. These three again belong to another category. What is the grammatical identity of these three? What is the grammatical recognition of these three things? In grammar, what do we call them? These three things, my best friend, to do better, playing cricket, these three things, the type of expression that is there in these three, they have got one name in grammar. What is it? You compare these three with these three. Here you have, when he saw me, where they live, that he is ill. Interestingly, if you look at them seriously, you will find that although in the second category, they appear to be carrying some more meaning compared to these. The second category, if we call this second category 2, and if we call this one 1, then in the list number 2, they carry some more meaning, it appears, compared to those in the category 1. But still, here also in second category, meaning is not complete. No. You will say, when he saw me, it is not when did he saw me. This could have been a question, interrogative sentence. This is not a sentence. Sentence will be complete if I say, he started laughing when he saw me. If you say like this, then it becomes a complete sentence. He started laughing when he saw me. But here I have written only, when he saw me. This is not a sentence. Although it appears to be quite close to a sentence. The same is the case where they live. I know where they live. That is a complete sentence. But if you only say where they live, this does not give a complete sense. It is not a sentence. Again, I know that he is ill. Here it is a complete sentence. But if you just say that he is ill, this means that all these 1, 2 and 3, they need some support. They depend on some other words, and if those other words are added to them, then only together they give a complete sense. Then only they together can be called a sentence each. But if these things they are not able to convey a complete sense, they are not sentences. What are they? What are their names? I'll tell you it later. Coming here, you see here also, my best friend. If you say my best friend, then from these 3 words I understand something. If I hear someone saying these words only, my best friend, then I understand that he is talking about a human being, and he is talking about a human being with whom he is very close, with whom he is very intimate. These things I understand, but beyond this, I don't know anything. That his best friend will come, or that his best friend has passed examination, or that his best friend is ill. I don't understand anything. Just I understand this much thing, that he is talking about a human being with whom he is intimate. To do better, this, and then again playing cricket, these 3 expressions, they convey some meaning. And compared to these 3, in number 2, these 3 convey some more meaning. But neither these 3 nor these 3 are sentences. What are they then? These 3, the first 3, they are called phrases. They are called phrases. And these 3, they are called clauses. How to identify, how to know these are phrases and these are clauses? You see the difference. We have already discussed about non-finite and finite verbs. In number 1, there is not a single finite verb. Have you noticed this? My best friend, there is no verb at all. In number 2, to do better, there is a verb, do. But before do, there is to. It's to infinitive, which is an example of non-finite verb. Playing cricket, there is verb ing, present participle. But before present participle, there is no be verb. So I have discussed it earlier that in the first category, in number 1 there is no verb at all. In 2 and 3 there are verbs, but they are non-finite verbs. So a phrase is a group of words. Remember this thing, the definition of a phrase. A phrase is a group of words without any finite verb. A phrase is a group of words without any finite verb, and this group of words conveys some sense, not a complete sense. My best friend, to do better, playing cricket, these 3 things convey some meaning, not at all complete meaning, and they don't have any finite verb. Coming here, you see finite verbs are there. So is a finite verb. It is not to see, it is not seeing. Live, it is not to live or living without be verb before it. Then is. So in this category, all these 3 expressions, they have one finite verb each. But instead of having a finite verb, they also cannot give a complete sense. So the definition is that a phrase, we have already got, a phrase is a group of words without a finite verb and giving some sense. A clause is a group of words having a finite verb but still not conveying a complete sense. Then we will come to know sentence. A sentence is again a group of words with a finite verb and giving a complete sense. So firstly, phrase, a group of words without a finite verb, giving some sense. Then clause, a group of words with a finite verb, still not giving a complete sense. Then comes sentence, a group of words with at least one finite verb and giving a complete sense. These differences of a phrase, clause and sentence you have all to know. Then only you can understand simple, complex and compound sentences. Now, as I have told you earlier, let me give some examples, 1 or 2 examples to make you understand the difference of these 3 types of sentences better. Look at these 3 sentences. Seeing the hunter, the tiger ran away. Next, number 2, when the tiger saw the hunter, it ran away. Number 3, the tiger saw the hunter and ran away. These 3 sentences mean the same thing. But they are written in 3 different ways. Firstly, you see, when we change simple, complex and compound, we have to know, to first of all count the number of finite verbs. And we have learned that non-finite verbs are of three types. Other than these three forms, all other are finite verbs. So, first of all, see in number 1, how many verbs are there? One is seen, then the verb is ran. These two verbs are there. Out of these two, are both of them finite or non-finite? Ran is finite, but coming to seeing, verb ing, present participle, but before it there is no be verb, it is non-finite. So how many finite verbs are there? Only one finite verb. Total number of verbs in number 1 is 2, seeing and ran. But number of finite verb is 1, only ran. Seeing is non-finite. So we have earlier learned that a simple sentence is one that has only one finite verb. So in number 1 we have found that there is only one finite verb. So this is simple sentence. Then coming to number 2, when the tiger saw the hunter, it ran away. Here we have two finite verbs. First one is saw. This seeing is changed into saw. And ran is ran, okay? So in this sentence we have got two finite verbs. And not only have we got two finite verbs, you see this sentence is divided into two distinct parts. What are two distinct parts? One part is when the tiger saw the hunter. And the other part it ran away. Now, I already have discussed it earlier. If we compare these two parts, one part is when the tiger saw the hunter and the other part is it ran away. If you compare these two parts and make an assessment about which part carries more meaning, which part can independently stand as a sentence without the help of the other part, then you will find, make a comparison. When the tiger saw the hunter, if I say stop here, don't add the rest of it. When the tiger saw the hunter, this is one part. Then again if you say no, it ran away, this is the part. Leave the first part. Then out of these two parts, which one carries more meaning? It ran away, although here only 3 words are there. Although the number of words is only 3, but still it ran away is a complete sentence. It ran away. When you say it ran away, we understand things quite well. But if you say only when the tiger saw the hunter and then you don't continue, then your listener will be waiting to listen some more words from you. It means if you say just when the tiger saw the hunter, you have not been able to convey a complete sense. This means that in this number 2, there are two parts. This part that is able to convey a complete sense even without the help of the first part, even if the first part is removed, still these 3 words together can make a sentence of its own. This is called main clause. This is called main clause. Main clause means the part of the sentence that is independent. Main clause or independent clause. And coming to this part which gives a sense but not complete, and without the help of the second part it remains incomplete. This part is called dependent clause or subordinate clause. Subordinate clause or dependent clause. Because this part is dependent on the other part. And that part it ran away is not dependent, it is independent clause, main clause. This is dependent clause or subordinate clause. This is what we find in a complex sentence. In a complex sentence, you clearly find two parts. One part is independent, it is called the independent clause or main clause. The other part is dependent on the main clause, so that part is called dependent clause or subordinate clause. This you will find in every complex sentence. And when you are asked to change it into simple, your job will be that the main clause will remain the same. We are not to make any change to it. And out of the subordinate clause, you have to change this finite verb into a non-finite form. This is what is done here. This finite verb saw is changed into seeing, but the main clause it ran away. Here it also remained it ran away. In place of it, the tiger is used. Here we have used it because the tiger is not mentioned. When the tiger saw the hunter, tiger and hunter both are mentioned, so we have to write it. Otherwise, one can be confused with whether it is hunter or the tiger. So it is used. So what we have got is that in a simple sentence there is only one finite verb. In a complex sentence there are two finite verbs. Complex sentence has two parts, one main clause, one subordinate clause. And when you find a simple sentence, your job will be to, there is already one finite verb, your job will be to create another finite verb. And when you find a complex sentence, there are already two finite verbs. Your job will be to remove one finite verb. Which one to remove? That one you will remove which is in the subordinate clause. But the finite verb in the main clause, you are not to touch it. Coming to the third number, the tiger saw the hunter and ran away. Here you see visibly there are two sentences. One is the tiger saw the hunter. Then again ran away means the tiger ran away. The tiger saw the hunter. The tiger ran away. Two simple sentences. They are joined by a conjunction. And the tiger is written only once because it is the same tiger who ran away. It is the same tiger who saw the hunter. So it is written only once. The tiger saw the hunter and the tiger ran away. And when we write it in this way, the tiger saw the hunter and ran away. That is a compound sentence. So these things are not that easy. This is very important. You have to pay much attention. You have to understand things really well. You have to concentrate. You have to focus. So watch the video several times. Try to understand. If you still have any confusion, any query, you can ask in the comment box. And in the next video, we will start practicing sentences of these three types, changing from one type to another. And then we will do those questions that have come in the final examination. And while we practice these things, again these things will come. I will make discussions on them. I will try to make things easier to you when we practice. So, wishing to meet you soon in the new video where we will make practices on these types of sentences. Thank you very much for being with me.